Everybody, if you want to sit at the table,
28 participants online.
see, so people are zooming instead. We have a big Zoom contingent. Did we already explain to those that are on Zoom what the situation is?
We did this about the network. Okay, she's gonna post a comment. right now.
So those that are on Zoom, can you hear, I'm guessing they can hear me right now.
Yes, they can.
There was some technical difficulties relative to the internet here earlier. So if for some reason that we have a drop off, we are gonna be recording this as well, so with a backup system. Be something available.
All right, we can do girl dates soon, yes, if not, I'll see you guys all on, well, you won't be here next Thursday, right?
Speak yourself if you are.
Tuesday. Are you working here Saturday?
Saturday?
Yeah, you?
Yeah.
Are you working Sunday?
Yes.
Do you need some more space Saturday night?
Send every day. I'll let you know if I do.
Let me know, for sure, cause I actually might need a sitter too, and then pay you, and then you can just stay the night if you
Please
want.
mute yourself. We
Okay.
can't hear. People are talking.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, I want to wait for Chris. Thank you, Chris.
And for the purposes of recording today as a backup, to have a continuous recording, we have two microphones in the room, one with the chair and one if you are giving an update and you raise your hand or you're called upon, we'll bring this second microphone to you so that we get a clear audio for backup.
Okay. Do we have the county joining us? Should we wait?
They should be joining any moment.
Okay, I just don't want to start without them. We'll give it just a few more minutes, everybody. I'm good, how are you?
I'm not at that level yet.
Yeah.
Summer too.
I know.
Really great.
Part of it now.
Hoping it stays this way. I feel like I keep getting better. Rainy again.
We'll be starting shortly.
In one ear and out the complete. Yeah.
We from across the street. Are there offices across the street?
One that's fine. Okay, I'm waiting for that.
Or across the way? And their offices over there or?
Theirs are up here.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
How you doing?
I sent you an email.
Probably not quite yet.
Yeah, I just sent it a couple hours ago.
Okay. Does she have a name tag? Do you have a name tag?
Sure, I didn't check yet.
Not
the one shiny.
Okay.
Okay.
Sure, then we can move on to Chris and then the next agenda. items.
Thanks so much. Sorry.
Right.
Yeah, that was send me, that was literally send me.
Yeah.
I would think it just be like.
So thanks very much.
I would literally text someone, be like, please, I'm leaving. I'm not, I can't.
How are you?
How much, Jeff?
Yeah.
Starting really quick. And thank you.
Welcome.
You're a big fan.
And get started. We may have some people straggling in. I heard there was a little bit of traffic. A little bit, okay. So we'll get going. We need to leave. We have a hard stop today at 3. So I just want to put that out there for comments, etc. I see more people coming. Here we go. Okay, so good afternoon. I want to thank all of you for coming and participating today. And whether you're joining in person or joining virtually, appreciate you taking the time on this important issue, which we are keeping on. This is our second task force meeting of 2024. And if it's your first time joining, I want to thank you for coming. And as a reminder, these task force meetings are being recorded and are publicly available through links on the website. So if you missed something and you wanted to go back and look, it's all there. So I'm Wendy Bucknam, and I'm a council member in the city of Mission Viejo. Assembly member Lori Davies and I currently serve as co-chairs of the Sober Living Task Force. However, I am excited to begin today's meeting by really sharing an important update, and that is 5th District Supervisor Katrina Foley will be officially joining Assemblymember Davies and I as task force co-chair, which we're very pleased with. And you probably have noticed that there's been participation here, and we are in this amazing room thanks to her, and as well as I believe also Chair Wagner has been supportive of that as well. I'm sure they all are. So let's be fair. As some of you may know, Supervisor Foley isn't going to be able to join us today, but because she's recovering from some medical treatment, and we are wishing her good health in a speedy recovery. And we're so grateful to welcome her to the task force leadership team. We didn't want to save that news because we think it's important as we embark and move down this pathway of having a task force that is bipartisan, non-denominational, all those things, so we can get stuff done. So, and then I know that her staff may be joining us very soon, so we will welcome them when they arrive. So just a quick review of the task force, since we may have a few new members attending. Just want to restate our mission before we go over these progress and updates. The Sober Living and Recovery Force Task Force mission is to combine expert education and research, public input, and bipartisan regional ideas and initiatives to determine critical pathways forward for possible short and long-term policy solutions, probably some short, long-term solutions that help those in recovery, as well as the community members and neighborhoods that have been impacted. So at this time, we do have some new people around the table. So I think it might be a great idea if we could just quickly go around the table and do quick introduction and what you're affiliated with, your resident. Just say that and where you live. Let's start on the end over here. Name and where you are from.
Jay Barkman, Government Affairs Manager for the City of Costa Mesa.
Thank you, Jay.
Ms. Avila, resident of Laguna Niguel.
Miato, Mayor Pro Tem with the City of Laguna Niguel.
Janice Lim from the city of Dortmund.
Thank you.
And we're welcome you. I'm Wendy Bucknam, as you already know. Kristen Belandi, the San Manuel Dixon's office.
John Campbell, City of San Juan Capistrano.
Sarah Schneider, resident in San Clemente.
From Bauer, residents of San Clemente.
Colin Edwards from Assemblyman Treetop.
Thank you for coming.
Okay, I would like to have Chris give an update from
ACCMC, give us an update, status, etc.
So there've been a lot of discussions about the future of the task force and really making sure it can be as robust and effective as possible and grow, not just across Orange County, but statewide. And so the chairs came to us at ACCOC. Late last year, we started talking about ways that ACCOC could help organizationally to provide some high-level oversight and management. For those who aren't aware, ACCOC is a nonprofit established in 2011 to represent the cities of Orange County regionally at the state and the federal level. And we also do a lot of programming to provide resources and information so that our electeds can be informed on the issues that they are facing within their own municipalities. We also have 45 affiliate members that represent our higher education institutions in the county, our public agencies across the board, water, sand, transportation, and then our large employers and businesses in Orange County as well. Our executive committee of the board looked at the budget that's been prepared and discussed and has recommended to our full board next month that we take on that oversight role for the task force. We are working with Mission Viejo right now, and thank you to you and your staff who are filing so that the task force becomes its own 501c3. It's created its own legal entity. It won't be blended with ACCOC. It will have its own legal status and identity. But we will provide accounting, ACCOC with the board support next month. We provide accounting, auditing, monthly reporting, financial oversight, all of that, invoicing of everyone who commits funding to this effort. But otherwise, the task force will operate as it has going forward. Again, this is build the airplane as we try to fly it. We are open to suggestions. We want to make sure everyone's comfortable with these next steps and this evolution, but ACCOC is looking to be a resource to the task force going forward.
Great, because this gives, this helps Mission Viejo, who's been funding this effort for about 2 years. And our city manager in the back there, Dennis Wilbur, thank you, who has been very supportive and providing a lot of resources and quick responses. And we love partnering with all of our neighboring cities as well as the county on things. So this is going to be great. So thank you. Okay, thank you for that update. Now we have a county update. Should we wait?
We should wait on that.
Okay, we'll hold. Let's talk about state legislative initiatives. So I want to move on to updates regarding our state legislative update. So one of the more exciting and tangible signs of progress that we have made as a task force is the introduction of various bills in Sacramento, which we have shared some preliminary information tackling different aspects of this issue. So sometimes it does take us a few rounds to get to the reforms that we really want. So a central part of our task force mission has always been to raise awareness and attention around the seriousness of the issue, both from the perspective of the person that needs to be treated and treated properly, and the perspective of the communities and the neighborhoods that these entities are functioning in. So really, the introduction of multiple legislative proposals, regardless of what their current status is really major progress, in my opinion, in and of itself. These efforts, plus the potential impacts of Proposition 1, are creating some momentum ahead of the state's audit results and the crafting of a legislative reform package for the next legislative session. And so to that end, let's go around the room and anyone who would like to update the task force on their office's initiatives, let's go ahead and do that. Jeff, do you want to kind of lead that?
Madam Chair, I would like to introduce Kristen Galandi from Assemblymember Dixon's office to provide an update on the Assemblymembers. Thank you.
Yeah, happy to, and certainly agree with you, Councilwoman Bucknam, that we feel the same, that just the fact that there's so many pieces of legislation that have now been introduced is a positive sign that this is now percolating, and there's a lot of members on both sides of the aisle aware of both the need to make sure there's responsible treatment and that our neighborhoods are being served as well. So to that end, a few that I know that we've talked about before, since I didn't see Connor Medina here from League of Cities, I'll give that update too. There are a couple that the League is the sponsor of. One is AB 2081 by Assemblywoman Lori Davies. That one is more of a reporting type bill. It's that reporting if there's any violation that the homes must be reported, and there is a penalty also if they don't do it in a time certain of like $2,500. That at least is moving forward. It did make it through committee. And then another one is SB 913. That's also a League of Cities bill, which is Senator Umberg, and that one is about the enforcement on licensing. From what we understand in talking to legislative staff in Sacramento, I think that one it still, remains to be seen how far that one's going to continue, but it at least is still moving at this point in time. It is pending a hearing. Another one to share is and maybe I'll just briefly touch on it in case county staff does get here, is SB 1334 by Newman, and that is a county sponsored piece of legislation. That one is more about a distancing requirement, and it was focused on the Costa Mesa lawsuit was sort of where they got the language from on that. That one has been set for a hearing, which is good. In the Senate, the Assembly and the Senate run a little bit differently. Unfortunately, we're also hearing that one may see some challenges ahead, but it's still alive. So this is good, but hopefully someone from Supervisor Foley's office will be here to give us more direct information on that one. And then there were a few others that were in play. Assemblymember Dixon had one, which was 2121, very similar to Senator to Senator Newman's. That was also distancing. It was much more narrow even than Senator Newman's. It was a 350-foot limit that the two agencies had to consider that and talk to each other. We have been told by the chair it will not be getting a hearing. And the information that was shared was that she was not looking to hear anything that was focused on the neighborhood or community side of the equation, only those that were focused on the patient side. So that's, Senate and Assembly run differently. So that was what was shared with our office. And then similarly, AB 2574 by Valencia, which was specifically about residential zoning and protecting that. Similarly, will not be getting a hearing and was told for the same reasoning. And then finally, one other one that we think is interesting that the task force probably wants to keep an eye on is AB 2651 by Baines. And that one is actually going with building a profession. So it's a different committee and it's regarding licensing of alcohol and drug counselors. So it's sort of another approach. But the bottom line, just to echo what you had said, is we agree. The fact that there is a lot of legislation out there, some moving forward, some maybe not for now, is good. People are starting to pay attention to the issue. Also, a quick update on the JLAC audit, Member Dixon's audit. Despite what the website says, I think it still said as I was driving here, I checked real quick that it says temporarily on hold. It is not on hold. It is back in process. They are completing the audit and they do expect to have results by early summer. And I know the Assembly member is hopeful that will produce information that we'll need to be able then to introduce additional legislation based on the details that come out of that audit. Our office is also now working on language for a second audit request of DSS facilities. So hopefully there will be both DHCS and DSS, which we think will help in getting legislation to move forward also in the future. And I think that is all we have.
Thank you.
Okay, great. Next, we have Mufida Asif from the office of Senator Tom Umberg. Are you on today? Were you able to join us, Mufida?
Hi, yes, I am here.
Did I enunciate your name correctly?
Yes, it's perfect.
Okay, thank you.
So Senator Umberg is working on SB 913, which would augment substance abuse treatment facilities. It would basically allow the Department of Healthcare Services to work with city attorneys. We're still deciding who the department's agents would be that would assist them in carrying out their duties when it comes to licensed treatment facilities. So yeah, that's basically it. They would assist them in conducting announced and unannounced visits to these treatment facilities. And yeah, so that's the bill. It just passed the Senate Health Committee, I believe, last week. And next week it's going to be presented at the Judiciary Committee.
Next
You want to
week,
speak, you want to speak to if the amendments are in print yet? Are they in print yet?
So the amendments, we're still working on them, but we're still waiting to hear back from Legislative Council. But basically, the only changes we made is that before the Senate Health Committee, the bill would basically be for unlicensed and licensed facilities, and now it's only the licensed facilities. I know Caroline's on here as well. You want to add anything?
Okay. Perfect. Thank you. That is, appreciate that, and getting real-time information is terrific. Appreciate it.
Next, we have Carolyn Grinder with the League of California Cities. Caroline?
Welcome.
Yeah, thank you all so much. And thank you for letting us provide a quick update. I know Connor is also here from our team, so I'll invite him to jump in as well. Super helpful updates. I just kind of want to provide some insights into the league's engagement on this issue this year. We are sponsoring 4 bills this year. I think all of them have been mentioned in some capacity so far. I will tell you, we are facing some pretty fierce opposition to our proposals, specifically on the Umberg bill. We had that hearing that Mufida mentioned last week in Senate Health. The chair did not take a position on our bill, which really created an uphill challenge in terms of getting that bill out of committee and moving forward into judiciary. So we're really thankful for the partnership with the senator, who's continuing to work really closely with us to continue to move that bill forward through the process. With regards to our other bills, I know there was a mention to AB 2574 Valencia, another bill that we're sponsoring this year. That bill will actually, it is moving forward. It'll be set for a hearing. It's up next week in Assembly Health. We did have to take some significant amendments to get that bill set for a hearing. The bill will basically require that providers, licensed treatment providers, have to disclose to the department if they also operate sober living homes. We want to create some increased transparency into operators who are running licensed facilities along with sober living homes to crack down on situations where individuals who are operating these facilities are moving patients back and forth, providing services at sober living homes that they are not allowed to do without licensure, and continue to crack down on those issues where these facilities are connected. So increased reporting there, and looking to also have, some further enforcement into looking at how we can get at that issue. We mentioned the Davies bill. We're co-sponsors on AB 2081. That bill sailed out of a health committee and is headed straight to approps. So super excited to see that bill's on the fast track to the appropriations committee and is continuing to move forward this session. And then I know there was a little mention earlier about the Dixon bill. We're so grateful to the assembly member for her work in sponsoring that bill with us this year. It was really disheartening to hear that there was no interest in setting that bill for a hearing, despite the fact that we really felt like what was put forward were just small bites at the apple in terms of distancing requirements. We were definitely disheartened by that, but we're going to continue to keep up the fight to try to get bills like that moving forward into the future. So I can hand it over to Connor, see if there's anything else that I missed there, but we're happy to answer any questions and would love all of your support to continue to move these bills forward. Like I mentioned, we're facing some really fierce opposition, and this is part of what will have to probably be a multi-year effort, like you all mentioned, looking to the audit, looking to some of these bills this year, and then into next year, seeing what we can get over the finish line. But I'll pass it over to Connor.
Thank you, Caroline, and thank you, Chair Bucknam, members of the task force. This is Connor Medina, League of California Cities, Orange County Division Regional Manager. Just wanted to first thank Caroline for her nonstop, around-the-clock work on these bills. It's a big effort to get this conversation going and educate the legislature on the purpose and intent behind these bills and why further regulation is needed. So appreciate her work and appreciate many of the cities that are on here, both virtually and in person, who have already submitted letters of support for these bills. And if your city hasn't, I strongly encourage you to do so. I'm happy to, if you reach out to me, I'm happy to share the sample letters and the fact sheets and all that information. I would normally be in the office with you all since I'm based in Orange County, but today I'm actually in Sacramento. We had our we're having our city leaders summit, and yesterday we did a lot of our lobby day meetings, going around the Capitol, running around, meeting with almost all of our delegation over the course of the day. And this was a top of mind for the Orange County Division. Everybody, regardless of what division they represent, had in their leave behind a fact sheet on these bills so that we can make sure that the entire legislature is educated on the intent behind these bills and why cities are passionately behind these reforms. So a lot of work that's been done, a lot of work to be done, and looking forward to working with the task force and you all on keeping these bills moving forward.
We have, are there any other participants virtually who have an update representing state legislative? Have a written update?
I saw that.
Okay, great. And this is from Daniel Fonsello at the Office of Assembly Member Lori Davies. So I'll just read this into the record. AB 2081 was heard on April 2nd in the Assembly Health Committee. To get the bill through committee, the Assembly member took a couple of amendments, including no longer posting specific violations, but instead posting a link to the Department of Healthcare Services list of facilities on probation suspended that had certification. Facilities, when giving potential patients intake forms, must also provide a link to the same DHCS website, ensuring that whether the patient discovered a facility online or not will be given the resource to ensure legitimacy of a facility. Final amendment was to allow the DHCS to fine facilities who are found in violation of this new law based on their own fine structure to allow for continuity of fines. The Assembly member was honored to have Carolyn Grinder from the League of California Cities and the city manager from Laguna Niguel, Tamara Letourneau, come and testify in front of the committee in support of the bill. The bill passed through the committee unanimously, 15-0, with one member absent. AB 2081 originally referred to both Assembly, Health, and Judiciary, but has since passed through Judiciary without a hearing. The bill now sits in Assembly Appropriations. We expect the bill to get out fairly easily as it has no real cost to the state. AB 2081 officially on the record. One group has one group opposing on the record. After accepting the amendments and speaking with the opposition, the Assembly member believes they will be pulling their letter leaving bill with no opposition. And if you have any questions or concerns, you're welcome to email the Assembly member's office, daniel.fonsello@asm.ca.gov.
Thank you. A good first step, but interesting that they want to remove the violations, isn't that? Well, probably to remove the opposition. Right? That's why they made the modification. But look, like we said, multi-pronged, multi-year, we just haven't been able to get bills and traction. And if we can get something in here, this is going to be a big accomplishment. So appreciate the updates. Excuse me.
Wanted to make sure this was provided, and this is from the legislative bill tracker from Corey Takinen, the legislative advocate for the city of Mission Viejo and other cities in the room. SB 1334, Senator Newman. We do have a representative here today who asked me to provide this quick update on his behalf. The bill clearly defines sober living homes and empowers local jurisdictions to require permits for sober living homes that serve 7 or more residents, and allows local jurisdictions to mandate a minimum distance between licensed recovery facilities or sober living homes. And of course, the update on that, similar to AB 2121, the measure is obviously having a hard time being considered for its policy committee without taking substantial amendments, and the senator is considering those.
What those are? That was going to be the question. So I was hoping the supervisor's office would be here.
We do not have all of those, but what we will do is get a written update from the County of Orange and from the senator's office. We'll include that with this document with the recording for the archive of the meeting.
Well, thank you all for your hard work online and then around this table in the room, and we appreciate all of it. So with that, we're going to move to a local law enforcement update with our almost brand new captain in Mission Viejo.
Yes, I'm really new to this, so I'm passing on what Captain Chris McDowell asked me to talk about, and a little bit about my background. I work patrol in San Juan Capistrano for 6 years before moving on to Canevin for many years and dealing with the drug problems we had here in the county. And we did have issues with sober living homes back in the 2000s in San Juan Capistrano, and my experience was in San Juan Capistrano, whereas we were responding out to these unreported sober living homes that we didn't know where they were until we started keeping track of their locations. And then we were getting, we started to recognize the addresses and we knew what we were dealing with every time. So the big problems we had with these homes were the disturbance calls, right? They were unregulated. They have every location had their own rules for living there, and they wanted us to enforce their rules. Paul, that's not the law. They weren't breaking the law. They were breaking house rules when we don't enforce house rules on, when they're not crimes. So, but they're obviously causing a problem for the city. And one way we are tracking locations of these potential homes is by scrubbing our CAD, right? The calls that come across through dispatch and understanding what calls homes are causing repeated responses for our deputies. Like I said, the big one are disturbance calls, general disturbance calls, where we're going out and just making contact with individuals at these homes that are being reported to either from people inside the house, neighbors, anonymous, or whatever. And then we're going to have to figure out how many of these we have. And they're not just disturbance calls, right? Disturbance calls are easy. It's the medical aids, it's the overdoses, it's parking issues, it's all those quality of life issues that we have in the city that, if they're unregulated, we don't know where they're at, zoning issues. As a resident of San Clemente, I mean, we were dealing with this for years. It's still going on, but it's not as bad as it was years ago. But the workload that's causing our deputies, especially not knowing where these areas are, is enormous. I mean, it's the call volume. I mean, just 84 calls, 67 calls on unlicensed facilities. I mean, you know where they're at, and the bills that I'm hearing proposed, I think will help fix some of these problems. Like I said, I'm catching up to what the committee here is doing, the task force is doing, but as I learn more, I'll pass on whatever I have. But yeah, we need to fix this problem, and like I said, we're going to do our best from local law enforcement level to update where these locations are, that especially the unlicensed, where some of the licensed ones are. Like I said, the unregulated ones, that's where we're having issues with overdoses. There's not licensed, nurses there. I mean, it's a Wild West. So we'll stay on top of it from our end. We just need help from the legislative side.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, let's talk I think you gave us somewhat of a JLAC update, Kristen. So Tim, do you have more? Do you have a little bit more?
I'll just add a couple quick points.
Okay.
First, Kristen, and to your office, thank you very much for initiating that. I believe it was back in May of 2023 that this request was initially made. As you mentioned, now the audit's been officially restarted. According to the auditor's office, I think they said they expect results in the fall of 2024 this year.
We're being in the summer, so.
Yeah, okay, summer, fall. It just speaks to the long game that has to be played here, right? To lay the foundation for this. We think, as we mentioned, that's going to be a critical piece to building support for some of the legislative reforms that are being put forward. And lastly, I'll just quickly mention, through the task force website, soberlivingtaskforce.com, we are assisting with the collection and consolidation and submission of public comments for this audit. We are able to do that up until it's released, and they're looking at those comments. So we want to make sure we take advantage of that. We have been submitting pretty regularly. I know we filmed some of our members of the public who have participated in the task force here and submitted visual testimony in that way. But it's something that for all of your constituents, or cities, if you want to direct them to the task force website, that's something that was super helpful with the city of Mission Viejo. I know you all recently put out an announcement directing your residents to go there and submit testimony, and we received dozens after that. So we want to make sure they hear from everybody who's been impacted by this issue. So I'll just remind everybody, soberlivingtaskforce.com. There's a testimonial section, and you can go there and submit your public comment for consideration. Thank you.
Terrific. And that helps. Our legislators are asking us for support and help. That's exactly what that's intended to be used for. Little snippets, testimony that can be shared with the committees if they accept video links. But anyways, it's another stopgap measure to get some information out there. So that's why it's so important. Okay, thank you. Appreciate that. Next up, we have City Attorney for Mission Viejo, Bill Curley, providing us with a legal update on current or pending issues, cases, etc. Bill, is there, other than what's already been shared, is there anything in addition to that you would like to share with us? I think he's online.
I am online, thank you. Not a lot. The appeals to the U.S. Supreme Court on the Costa Mesa cases weren't as effective as hoped. So narrow issues were resolved. They're sent back. Those will be handled back through the trial courts. That hasn't advanced enough for anything to report. It is just back in process, if you will. One thing we're doing, crossing our fingers on SB 913, I'm doing a very light analysis of how cities might look to be helping the state if we get that co-enforcement power. We certainly don't want to leave it to others because they won't quite appreciate the city's view and needs. So again, keeping our fingers crossed, not diving too deeply, but being ready to hit the ground running if we get the chance. That is in process. And the rest is, we're just hoping all of this wonderful legislation that something takes. Again, it's always first steps. It's every little step forward is something we didn't have. So we're counting on the legislature team here to get us some tools. And that's what I got today.
Bill, appreciate that. I just wanted to quickly, I did have something for that captain or that Chris sent me that I'll share. It has to do with SB 67.
Not familiar.
Okay, so I'm going to just share this because as we were making this transition, I said, hey, do you have any, you're not going to be able to attend. Do you have any updates? He did send me an email that says SB 67 passed, which mandates the reporting of all suspected overdoses statewide to the DEA's high intensity trafficking area. In HIDA program called the OD MAP. I have already gained access to the system and it does have national data being ingested. This platform was designed to provide more real-time insights into overdose spikes in specific areas, city, county, zip code, etc. An additional near future alerting system will include overdoses that occur within a 1,500-foot radius of a K through 12 school. Eventually, we should be able to layer our own locations for tracking, which could include overdoses that occur within a radius of a SLH. I don't know what that means. Sorry, I do know what that means. Even that's getting to me. Okay. Potentially, this may provide some insights, but time will tell once we start to analyze the data. For now, he's working on identifying exactly how the data is being entered and categorized. And long-term data analytics are planned for more early notification to first responders, to your point. And hospitals have anticipated overdose spikes based on patterns. He said, think of higher than normal potency fentanyl being trafficked from Mexico and an increase in overdoses moving along the North I-5 corridor. As an example, as the distribution moves along. And he said, potentially Seattle could have a notification alert a week earlier than they currently get them as a result of this. So this is a big project, and I think this has a little bit of something to do with Chris's role that he's
Correct.
maybe want to speak to that.
Captain McDonald,
I'm being too casual. Captain McDonald.
the position he is for tomorrow is, he's gonna be in charge of our real-time operations center. Think of it like a fusion center for intelligence coming from all over the county and all over the country. Working with RO Kayak, working with other states, FBI, NCIC, every database to populate crime trends. And he can track that and see how that's playing out in Orange County. And then we can enter our own information in there and pass it on to other agencies, other government agencies, say, hey, these are the issues we're dealing with. Are you guys seeing the same thing? This OD map, I guess I got onto it today for the first time. It's basically a heat map that shows where all your overdoses are, but the information has to be put in by somebody, right? So whether it's fire, a hospital, first responders, deputies or police officers, it has to be inputted. So that's the only way it's going to be populated. So we put in what we're going to get out of it. So it's good to know. It's going to have, I'll be able to show everyone, like Chris is great with some of our new mapping programs, and you can show like all the hotspots around the county. And like you said, you can see where it's going up and down the I-5 corridor all the way to Seattle, and you know how the like fentanyl's a big one, right? We all know about that. But we can see where the overdoses are occurring most.
Good future things that we'll be able to share with everybody here. Okay, I just wanted to cover something really quickly before we maybe open it up for a couple of comments. And again, I'm going to leave a little bit of extra time so that we do have some. So before we close today, I just want to give out a voluntary assignment to each and every person that's participating in the meeting today, and should you choose to accept it. Our next meeting is scheduled for Friday, the 14th, and my request is that you invite a new participant, elected official, jurisdiction, and or resident to attend with you, whether it's here or on the Zoom. So just a little over a year ago, since we were formed, we have created great momentum and we've attracted widespread participation across the region, not just Orange County, the region. The way that we are going to continue that momentum and ensure that proposed legislation and reforms are actually adopted, and it's also reform. So remember, Proposition 1A Proposition 1, there are going to be some regulatory things that are going to go along with that, and we want to make sure that we're paying attention to that. And I know the league is engaged in making sure they're at the table. So we want to make sure that we pay attention to those regulatory things that are associated, the little funny things that show up after a proposition is passed. We want to make sure we're tracking that very closely. So we just want to encourage each of you can play an important role in that. So with this, we have, if anybody has any comments, questions, we have time for just a couple. But we were heavy on the download side today because we did have some good info because of where we are in the legislative cycle. Does anybody in the room have any comments, questions?
Before you take comments in the room, Carolyn Reiner with the League of California Cities did have one other comment.
Sure.
Like to call on her.
Sure. Carolyn, go right ahead.
Yeah, thank you. And actually, it's completely related to what you just mentioned. I wanted to let everybody know the Department of Healthcare Services is holding a public listening session this Friday. I'm going to send a link in the chat so everyone can register for that. It is the first conversation to receive public input on how the department is going to allocate Prop 1 funds through the bond. We are calling on our members to join that public listening session and encourage them to emphasize to the department that they should consider geographic considerations in awarding funds. Because people have to apply for these funds and because the department has to create that regulatory process to determine how they're allocated, we get you know, an opportunity to have a say for things they should consider. And we really do believe that they should consider over concentration of facilities in certain regions and the need elsewhere in the state when they're determining awarding those allocations. So I'm going to send that link in the chat. Again, that's a public listening session. All are welcome to attend and provide their input on how they think those funds should be distributed. So please, if you're interested in, you know, having a say in that process, make sure to join that. And then
sorry, go ahead.
And then the last thing I was going to say is, I think it's a fantastic idea that you guys mentioned to bring others into this conversation. I know that I continue to hear from other lawmakers that maybe don't have as much experience on this issue. They want to know where their cities are at in the Orange County area, but also outside Orange County. And so if you have relationships with other cities in the region, or even moving up a little higher north that, you know, have these kinds of concerns and share, you know, these concerns, please make sure to make them, you know, make their voices heard, because I think the legislature is eager to hear from some of those voices as well. So that's it for me. Thank you for letting me add that on.
Thank you. And when that link comes through, we will make sure, can we get it on our website pretty quickly? So that those that are around the room in person can go to the website and access it. And Jeff, and so please just, the website is?
SoberLivingTaskForce.com. Really easy. SoberLivingTaskForce.com. Hit twice.
And if you haven't on that website, you all should have received the email and invitation for today's event. But if for some reason you did not, you can go ahead and sign up on that website, and then you'll get this update and link and notice for this upcoming meetings.
We do have two representatives I just wanted to acknowledge. One is, and I mentioned him earlier, but not by name, Christopher Kent, District Representative for Senator Josh Newman of the 29th District, and also Andrew Linares, aide to Santa Ana Councilman Phil Becerra, who's been actively participating. So I just wanted to recognize
that's correct. And raise your hands. There they are. Thank you for coming. Appreciate it. Very much so. Okay, and you're welcome to join us at the table if you ever want, because we love the conversation and more people at the table.
We also have one virtual participant, Scott Huber, who is city attorney for the city of Oroville and other cities and jurisdictions in Northern California. Who's participating.
And I believe he's joined us before.
He has, and he provided comments at the previous meeting.
Thank you for joining us. Appreciate that. So that does show that we're getting a broader reach, and I think this is maybe he's been here multiple times, so that's terrific. Thank you for joining us. Okay, with that, I want to encourage you. I've sent out a letter asking for participation to our cities in an effort to support what we're going to be doing with getting things shifted over to the ACCOC. That's going to be key. It's a nominal amount for a good, very specific effort that we are going to, we're going to be successful in this. So you should have received those letters. And that information is on the website.
Where we posted on the website, and there are copies here of your formal request to other cities to participate.
You want to grab things for your cities on the way out if you aren't sure that you got it. We sent it to not only a city representative, but also the city manager as well. So any questions going around the table?
And I guess, comments I wanted to pose to the task force. The first one was the legislation and the legislative pathways are very tricky. I wanted to find out if this task force would ponder the concept of a ballot initiative in the future if legislative pathways don't work out at the result, once we get the results of the audit. The second thought that I had was regarding federal legislation, and I know it's a little trickier. I don't know if that's something this task force can take on, but I do know that I think it was last year Mike Levin earmarked money for sober home study. It's called the Sober Homes Act. It's still pending, but it essentially at the federal level was going to take a look at a lot of these things at the audit and some of the things we're talking about. And I don't know if that would be helpful with our state legislation if at the federal level they can move that along and get some results of that. So I don't know if that's something this task force can have influence on as well, but I thought I'd bring it up. Those are the two thoughts I have. Thank you.
Good. Thank you. Sherman?
Yeah, I had one interesting point. I from all the bills and legislations that I hear going through, it's one thing that I don't hear is in the future, the people that run these facilities will eventually have to report overdoses and things like that. But the one thing that's missing is, what about how we approach holding the homeowners accountable at least to these facilities? Because they're responsible for the property. Now, if they're responsible for that property, that's an OD on that property, a death on that property, well, how are they going to get out from under that? Because they are responsible for the property. So if something happens on that property, you know, how do you hold them accountable? So that's a part that's really been missed in this big picture, because they're the ones that's actually facilitating it. So if someone dies on the property, would they be liable because of that negligence?
So I'm gonna ask Bill Curley to touch on that, because if I'm not mistaken, City of Oakland, Bill sent me an article on the City of Oakland. Bill, do you want to speak to the potential for a city to take action?
Yeah, I'm happy to, as you know. Yeah, there's some good arguments, and they all sort of find their foundation in the concept of nuisance. And I don't want to diminish anybody's life or health in the nuisance context, but cities have police powers, not law enforcement, but the governance powers that we can use to ensure the quality of life, the activities in the town do not create blight, do not create nuisance conditions. So when you have circumstances that fall within that disruption of life, if you will, category, those are arguably within the city's enforcement power. I say arguably because the stretch, the elasticity of ADA, of who's handicapped, of what's a civil right, what is not a civil right, is such a very fluid environment that gets trotted out regardless of how simple an activity or an enforcement seems on its face. But I don't want to sound at all disparaging of it. We think, we meaning a lot of municipal attorneys, think there is traction there. And I suppose if it turns out not, then we just know it's not, but we have to keep trying. You've heard on some of the discussion of the legislation, well, you're not allowed to talk about the units or the impact. You can only talk about the residents or the folks inhabiting the units. We get cut off a lot on what seem like logical approaches. So we have to keep thinking of new ones and hope they aren't equally clever in shutting us down.
Thanks, Bill. Bill, is it true that there was a lawsuit filed in Oakland?
Yeah, I don't have it at my fingertips, but yeah, I mean, if you've heard anything about Oakland in the news, Oakland's got a lot of troubles and social troubles, if you will, crime. But the only in and out to ever close was there recently. And people are trying every sort of measure to respond to everything that's going on. So it's sort of a crucible of crisis, might lead to some sort of illumination of options, but it's unfortunate we have to get there that way.
Okay, so we'll watch that situation unfold and could give us some ideas as well.
Yeah, we're watching everything because you never know where relief will come from. So,
right. But good question, because we've been thinking about that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you, Chairman. John Campbell. I'm probably going to get rotten tomatoes thrown at me by my fellow council members in the room. However, I certainly wasn't aware of a funding request that went out because it wasn't, as far as I know, sent out to council members as well. We are acutely in tune with our constituents regarding this issue. It's something I hear about often. And city managers and administrators, staff, while they're, of course, share our concerns, it's not a focus for them as it is for us. So I might suggest that when you're requesting, sending out a funding request, that you might do that. I mean, God knows we get enough emails already. And it's sort of a never ending challenge, a waterfall of emails. But I think it would be important to council members to be aware of those requests. So we could go in turn in our weekly meetings with our city managers, push that agenda forward. So I think it might be an effective way to, because I really appreciate Mission Viejo's perspective and that you guys have really put money into this program and this process. And I think the other cities need to share that responsibility as well, because we're all receiving benefit from it. So I'll be in trouble for this, but doggone it, send it out to us so that we can help push our city managers forward with it.
Thank you. We'll make sure we follow up with you, John. Thank you. And we did, and to be fair, we did send it out to people who were attending regularly, John. So if we missed you, my apologies.
Well, they have, in that waterfall, I may have missed it.
Right.
However, I think regardless of whether a council person is involved in this specific room or in this process, that those actions and those pushing that agenda forward is important to an awful lot of people.
Good point. You're right. Thank you. You're not getting in trouble from me. Okay, any questions, any other questions around the table? Okay, yes, Janice.
I was really fascinated about the Proposition 1 funds as being distributed. And I think that maybe we have an opportunity to make a strategic request of some, maybe even people that are even not in Orange County, but to ask them strategically to make that phone call for us. So is there any efforts in that, or do you know how we're able to do that? Like, is there like a region that you want them to fund the money to? Do you want it to, like, Mission Viejo needs some love and we'd like to see a lot of the requests go to this as
Well, I think that was that was what was mentioned earlier about the initial first listening session. And that's going to be discussed, and they're going to be looking for those questions and comments at that listening session on Friday, which we're going to get the link to.
Okay.
So that is actually a great place that will make sure we get that question asked.
We'll send that link out right after this, and just, I believe what was mentioned earlier was that I don't think you have to be as specific about a specific locality, but just to say that they factor in the consideration of the concentration of homes in. That way you don't have to be.
Will benefit this area, I will tell you. So thank you, that's a good question, and it reiterates what we're about Friday. Okay, so not seeing anybody else. What about online? If you can raise your hand, if you want to comment, say something where you are running out of time, but please don't want to cut anybody off. You'll let me know if you see somebody.
Any comments on in the last?
Okay, all right, with that said, then we're going to go ahead and adjourn the meeting, and our next meeting is June 14th.
Likely here, but we'll discuss that with you, Chair.
Okay, so likely here. So we'll see everybody, and we'll see everybody in June. Thank you very much. Informative meeting.